anyway, it's nice to meet you.
Kurt and I had the pleasure of hearing you talk at the White House on Monday afternoon. Political sites over there, twice in 3 days.
They're groupies. Yeah, fans will follow your history. Well, one of the great
Press, we're going to go ahead and
So invested.
Well, I don't know if it is yours. You know everything.
this way and hold.
Let's see exactly where we need to be.
Where's Ryan?
Hi, folks. Could you just please hang tight here? Thanks.
Ryan, are you ready? Ryan, can they follow?
After we're a little ways out.
Okay. Sorry.
Come on.
Right. Katie, follow Katie.
Okay, so what you just saw there, looks like we just lost our shot, our live shot, but I do want to take a look at some file video as we wait for that live shot to pop back up. It's right here. And I'm just going to kind of talk over this. I do have some questions and comments coming in regarding why First Lady Jill Biden is in Kansas City right now. Right now, this is a live look from the Harry S. Truman Presidential Library and Museum. Now, her visit highlights civic literacy and education in our community as the William Chrisman High School students work in the White House Decision Center. As you just saw there from this live shot, she was greeted by Mayor Quentin Lucas, also the mayor of the City of Independence, Alex Burden, who is the executive director of the library, as well as Kurt Graham, the director of the Library Museum, and Frank White Jr., the Jackson County executive. And it looks like they are actually transitioning, going to a different part of the Library Museum, and we lost that live shot again. But we are hoping to get it back here soon. First Lady Jill Biden will also be meeting with some teachers who bring their students to the Library Museum for the educational programs. And we do hope to have more details for you all, continuing to cover this story during our later newscast. So be sure to tune in to that as well. We are hoping to get that live shot back up here and running here in a bit of First Lady Jill Biden at the Harry S. Truman Presidential Library and Museum.
So, yeah, you do. No one touch this knob right here, please.
Everyone has a news outlet in mind. I know we got a couple of news outlets over there, but you guys all have a news outlet that you're going to ask for your questions. You guys are doing good. There's no one behind me. Okay, you don't see anybody behind me here. Okay, I'm going to go check on our presidents. I'm going to see how they are coming along with their decision, and to see if they're ready to present to you on what is happening. Okay.
Different day at high school, right?
What? Those are some good. Ooh, you even got a highlighter in there. Oh, sure.
I can see it.
You can't see this from where you're standing, which is why I'm suggesting you come over here.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Is that good? Please rise for the President of the United States. Thank you so much. And if you could, please stay standing for our welcome our very special visitor, the First Lady of the United States. Thank you all so much. You may be seated. So welcome everyone. My name is Sadie Troy. I am the director of our White House Decision Center here. The White House Decision Center is one of our longest running educational programs here at the Truman Library, and it is a simulation where all of our participants take on the role of President Truman and 7 of his top advisors, and then they're tasked with deciding how to handle a real-life crisis faced by President Truman and his administration. So all of our participants here today have read original source material, including some declassified documents, and they have all advocated their ideas to our President Truman's on how they think America should handle, this crisis at hand. We're now gathered here so that we can hear President Truman's thoughts on how that situation should be handled. So, in saying that, Dr. Biden, President Truman, we have our White House press corps, we have new friends in the press from Kansas City. I want to welcome you all to our 1948 press conference. Okay, in just one moment, President Truman is going to come up to the podium and present his decision on how his administration is going to handle the civil rights crisis that is affecting African Americans in our armed forces and in our communities. President Truman and his cabinet have talked about this at length and are finally ready to present their ideas. Once their remarks are finished, they will open the floor for questions. Now, I know our new friends from Kansas City may be blown away by the decision and have questions, but we are saving those for our White House press corps seated in front, okay? And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
You all may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I conferred with the Secretaries of Defense, leaders of the military services, and my staff about race relations in the armed services. As you all know from my earlier statements regarding the recommendations of my Committee on Civil Rights, I have been very dissatisfied with our current practice of segregation in the military because African American citizens are not being treated fairly, and they don't have enough opportunity to have jobs and proper education, and race and color should not be discriminated with housing and healthcare.
Accordingly, I have ordered the following. First, we're going to establish a committee consisting of African American veterans in order to educate Congress and legislatures on issues within the African American community. Next, I'm going to desegregate all 5 branches of the military. And finally, I'm going to initiate discussion with Congress members and legislation on how we can pass policies that will ensure African Americans have equal opportunity inside and outside of the military. My reasons for doing this are because we will need to educate Congress and legislation because they will be essential for passing these policies. Next, I'm desegregating the military because we need to upkeep the swiftness and efficiency of our United States military. And finally, we're a democratic nation and we must uphold the values that democracy stands for.
I know my actions may have some important consequences for my fellow Americans, including losing voters for support of certain regions, including the Southern Democrats, also backlash from individuals from certain regions like the South. In closing, our African American soldiers should be treated fairly and equally as well all citizens of our country. I will now be taking questions.
Hello, my name is Ivy. I'm with the New York Times. How do you intend to garner public and congressional support on your executive policy?
I plan on bipartisan talks and garner support and discussions from both parties.
Okay, thank you. You can go.
Levi with the BBC. How do you plan on creating support for desegregation within the armed forces?
We would allow African Americans to have the opportunity to join Air Forces, Marines, and attain officer positions and have skilled in combat positions.
Thank you.
Logan with CBS. Will the U.S. citizens have to pay additional taxes in order to fund the desegregation of the United States military?
Given the current economic climate and the positivity behind that, and the current downsizing happening within the military, it's within my plan that any necessary funds for the desegregation will be in the fiscal budget for this year.
Thank you very much, President Truman. Yes, thank you all so much for participating in this simulation. 1948 was a very challenging year for our country, and it was a year where President Truman faced some of his hardest decisions. And I just really want to take a second and thank our students for standing up to that challenge here in our simulation. It is not easy to do. So thank you all for your participation. And I do mean everyone here. I know we only had 3 of our President Trumans here at the podium, but they could not have done their job without your job and your research and your thinking skills that you brought in, your advocacy that you put into the decisions you put before our presidents. So thank you guys. One thing we talk a lot about here at the Decision Center is that leadership is not alone. Right? It takes a lot of voices, a lot of perspectives, a lot of viewpoints to make some of the best decisions. And I think you guys brought forth a lot throughout this simulation. So thank you all very much. Dr. Biden, it is an honor to have you here and to see our amazing students from Independence, Missouri here in action. I wanted to take this opportunity to invite you to share any remarks with the students you might have. So, yes, please.
Well, first let me say that I love that you're doing this, and what a great way to learn. And so I know you said you were doing a reenactment, but believe me, in the press room, as you've probably seen on TV, no, it's never that civilized. I mean, everybody's yelling and screaming their questions, and when you walk in, when you walk out, and while you're there. So anyway, you'll have to practice a little bit of chaos for the next time you do it. But I love that you're really learning about government because, as you may or may not know, I am currently teaching. I teach at a community college. I've been teaching for 39 years. I taught high school, and now I'm at the community college. I've been there for most of my career. And what I find is that most students really don't understand government. And they don't know that there are 3 branches of government. And they don't know the difference between county governments and state governments and the federal government. And it's really important. And voting is so important. And I don't think... I don't remember what year it was that civics was pulled out of the schools, but it wasn't that long ago. And so consequently, I think students don't have this understanding, and that's why I think that they, and you can tell me whether this is right or wrong, but I think on television and through social media, I think that people really have a negative opinion of government. They don't see the hard work. They don't see the perseverance. They don't see all the thought and the hard work and the critical thinking that go into each and every decision, not only at the White House, but for those responsible members of government and all the work that goes into it. So I want to say to all of you here, you should think about running for office yourselves. Being a politician is an honorable career. And so I want you to take the critical skills that you've learned through this opportunity. And when you hear something, don't just take everything on face value. Research it. Look into it. Look at other people's points of view so that you can really look with a critical eye at what's really going on. And I hope that you decide that really it is a worthwhile occupation because it is serving the people and it is making things better for your fellow Americans. And actually it extends beyond that to people internationally. So I hope you think about it. I hope you do run for office, and at the very least, an election year is coming up, and whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, I hope that you'll volunteer for a campaign and get involved and see what it's all about and see how hard it is to run for office. And so is anybody here thinking about a career in politics? One person in the whole group? Wow.
Not even a politician.
You didn't raise your hand, the mayors that are here. Honestly, though, it is a journey. It is an adventure, and it's like something you've never ever experienced. Every day is different. It's kind of like teaching. Every day is different. You meet people from all walks of life, and it will really make, I think it really makes life worthwhile. So thank you for all that you're doing and for your interest in the system. So thank you all for being here.
Dr. Biden, I have one last favor to ask you. As our press friends step out, would you mind taking a photo with our group of students here?